welcome to Talks with Dorks, episode number 13 of the current season. And, well, this is a little bit weird for me for two reasons. Number one, it's never me that introduces the show. But there's a reason for that, is the second reason why this feels weird, because as I look on my screen at the moment, I am slap bang in the middle of the other two faces on my screen. And I feel like that's very much by design. I almost feel like I might need to play referee here, because this is a normal podcast episode. We're not doing much in the world of wrestling talk today, but we've got to address the elephant in the room with Ryan to my right as I'm looking at things, and also our guest today on my left. And this is the first time that Ryan and, well, for starters, yeah, I mean, RJ to the wrestling fans, but Ross today. But this is the first time that these two have been within, well, talking distance of each other since a certain open challenge was answered at Talks with Dorks, Never Say Die.
That ended with
how are we doing, guys?
Not an artifact. RJ?
Relic?
Listen, I've got no. He may have bad blood because he had to, keep up with the old man that was struggling through the whole match. But there's definitely no bad blood on my side, brother. How are you?
I'm very well, mate. I'm very well. I've actually just recovered from a severely bruised knee. As great as Talks with Dorks was, I actually in the first match, obviously I opened the show in a tag match, and during that match I did a moonsault, and I came down really hard on my right knee, which I kind of just shook off and just got through because I knew I had another match that night, and obviously you and I worked together, and I just kind of adrenaline took me through the entire show. But I got home that night, iced up my knee, woke up the next morning, my entire knee and right leg completely bruised. And that's just kind of gone down over the last couple of weeks. So, but yeah, I mean, great show. We had a great time. Great time. It was,
It was unbelievable. And now I'm realising you didn't mention the knee to me in any sense until the day after. Now, if you'd have mentioned that to me after your first match, maybe we'd be having a different conversation and there'd be another belt in my background. So I could have took advantage of the knee, Okay.
I mean, you tried to lock in the sharpshooter a couple of times.
Yeah, that sharpshooter should have stayed on a little bit longer than it did.
That's it.
Or I should have pulled it away from the ropes before I started putting it in. Okay, but we're not here to talk about no wrestling. No, we might have a little bit of TD. I did it, Kurt. That's the first time I've messed it up. I'm trying to use the initials. TDW news, but that'll come up later.
Yeah. Before we get too far into things, I do have to say, before we park the wrestling talk for a moment, RJ, Ross, I thought you were insane attempting the moonsault during that match, knowing that you were pulling double duty that night. And still got a whole nother match to go, and climbs to the top rope twice in the match. Wants to do a flying double clothesline, wants to do the moonsault. And as I watched you do it the second time, I was like, do we have a backup plan for the open challenge? Because the drapes are low in the ceiling. All it takes is his foot to catch that drape on the way down, and we don't have an open challenge anymore. You did it, then went and did the main event anyway. And then to find out that you did that with a knackered leg half the match as well. Like, you, sir, are a legend for a reason.
To be honest, all this is doing is making more and more sense. Now I understand. As soon as that first match was over, RJ was like, right, how do I make this next match easy? Because they could have anyone back here ready to come out and challenge me from the British. It could have been Shah Samuels, because, I've known him a long time. It could have been anyone from the scene. We could have, R-Truth, I think, had been fired at that point. R-Truth could have been turning up. But Ross was thinking, do you know what? What would RJ really want? Someone that's not done it for a while, that's probably going to get out of breath a few times. Thanks for that. I really thought it was the friendship side of it.
That's it. You discovered my master plan on that one. Yeah.
Oh, the devious side of RJ comes out.
There we go.
That's what one of the D's in DDT stands for.
That's it.
But okay, are we done with that now? Because I started feeling really good about that match until 2 minutes ago. But we're diving into something that I've always wanted to dive into quite a bit on the podcast. It's a world that a lot of geeks know. It's been around for over 60 years now, and that is the world of Doctor Who. I'm a huge fan. A lot more of I got into it from the 2005 era. I don't know about you guys. I'll find out. But this is something I'm dying to talk about. Where do you want to start? Because I haven't got a clue. Because so much to unravel at the moment.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to talk to anybody about it since the ending of the most recent series.
Yes.
And I'm sure we'll come on to that at some point with all its controversy and where we think it's going and why we thought it was done like that. I mean, for me, I've just turned 44, last month, and so I kind of grew up, and my kind of earliest memories are sort of kind of through the Peter Davidson era. I don't remember the Colin Baker era a lot, but the Sylvester McCoy era is kind of really what I really remember as a child growing up. A little bit of Tom Baker, possibly chucked in there just before, but kind of growing up as a child, Sylvester McCoy was my doctor, and that kind of led into the 1996 Paul McGann movie. And then obviously the hiatus, the sort of, not hiatus we had from that point. So, when they announced that, in 2005 we'd be getting a revival, as I was in my 20s. It must have been around my 20s by that point. It was so exciting. I was like, wow, Doctor Who's coming back. Really excited for it. And then, then they announced Christopher Eccleston, who, very well-known actor at the time. And I don't think there was well, maybe there was, but I don't remember many people being upset with that decision because, Christopher Eccleston's great. I think there was, some of us were a little bit gutted we didn't get McGann, and, we didn't kind of get anything more from Paul McGann, from the 96 movie, apart from what we did then get on the 50th anniversary, wasn't it? I think we got that. So, So yeah, huge excitement with the 2005 series, and I have, I've been glued to Doctor Who ever since then. Like, absolutely love the series. I love what it's done. Obviously, as we go through, maybe we'll talk about the highs and lows, because I think, in more recent years, I do think we've had fantastic Doctors with not so fantastic writing.
I haven't seen a bad Doctor since the revival. That I can guarantee.
I think each Doctor has done a great job. And then, which brought us up to this kind of new era of Doctor Who, starting, in Ncuti Gatwa's era, which ended with a fizzle for me. I don't know if that's going to be controversial, but it kind of was incredibly excited. Okay, here we go. We're going to revive again. We're going to start again, and it's kind of over before we know it. And I'm a bit gutted, but like I said, when we get to that point, I'll talk more about it then.
So for me, like, I got into Doctor Who on the most random thing, was that when I was around when David Tennant was taking over, I knew of it. Like, I remember was working in a phone shop at the time, and one of my bosses was obsessed with it that it was coming back, and I'd seen it as a kid. I remember I'd seen the 96 movie, and actually, because to me, when I was watching Doctor Who in the 90s, to me, it looked old-fashioned by then, because I was watching Power Rangers and stuff, and Power Rangers special effects are probably not the one to go by, but it looks like very British sci-fi, so I didn't appreciate it. I remember seeing the 96 movie and thinking is it the same thing that I'd seen on the telly, because I was young, and it was pretty cool, because it looked like an American movie more than a British, under budget kind of that we had at the time. But it was David Tennant taking over when my ex-partner at the time, whose mum had said to me, have you seen this new man that's taking over Doctor Who, David Tennant? I was like, no, I've never heard of him. She went, you look a bit like him. At that point, I'd only ever been told I looked like Ralph Little from 2 pints of lager and a packet of And as a young lad, I'd never heard any girls talking about having posters of Ralph Little on their wall. So it's David Tennant. I was like, this could be a new era for me. So I started dressing up like him, and obviously got obsessed with the show because ego. But again, fell in love with, went and started watching Eccleston, and like you say, Eccleston it's such a shame there hasn't been anything else. But I understand the more we go on with what you hear about him. You're going to go on?
I will say, you say there's not been anything else with Eccleston. He did come back. He's done a lot of the Big Finish audio dramas.
I've never dived right into them, which I should.
Honestly,
they're in the car.
They are worth a listen. Genuinely, like, they are very well acted. That if you got a good imagination, like, I'd actually argue you don't even need a good imagination for the Big Finish audio dramas, because like they craft things really well. That like if you've got even the faintest imagination, you can just picture everything. And Eccleston on those, if you feel like you didn't quite get enough of Eccleston's Doctor, absolutely making up for lost time there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I think those are kind of testament to the fact that he's not anti Doctor Who, because I think that was the kind of sentiment for a long time. Oh, he seems really anti
Wasn't it? Yeah.
Doctor Who, but I think his most recent interviews, wasn't it? He's just very anti Russell T Davies and Julie Gardner is kind of his issue.
Pretty much.
Which
rather
was
than
weird to hear, because we'd spent a lot of time missing the Russell T Davies era, because it was such a. I mean, him and Tennant are like the pinnacle of what made it that hype in the early 2000s. What they did, made every Doctor going like, listen, we've set it up, keep it going. We've really set this up. We've smashed this out the park. You need to continue this sort of thing. So we as fans were like, Moffat did great. There's certain things I still don't think were answered that really still bug me. But obviously, Chibnall, I don't like to say anyone's word
How long
off,
you got?
but that was very difficult to get through.
Yeah.
I always say that the first episode with Jodie's Doctor that really made me go, oh, I don't know if I'm going to like this, was they brought in Bradley Walsh, and I love Bradley Walsh. I think he's hilarious. And in the first episode, I think it is of hers, they kill his wife dies, and he's depressed at the beginning. It's like not Bradley Walsh. Like, don't make
Don't do my
sad
Bradley
of all
like that.
people. He's meant to be the one that, because I loved Matt Lucas as Nardole. I know some people found him cheesy, but him as Nardole, like it was so needed next to Peter Capaldi's Doctor, where he was getting so angry. You needed that comedy. I thought he was brilliant. His little one-liners were just amazing. So I was like, with Bradley, we might get a Fanny Schmeller reference from The Chase or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, you mentioned Nardole. I loved Matt Lucas alongside Nardole because it's a sort of companion you don't see a lot. Anyway, like someone who absolutely knows the Doctor, is fundamentally from minute one done with the Doctor's BS and not afraid to call him out on a single bit of it. And also the only companion who is actually licensed to kick the Doctor's ass. Let's never forget that.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, I suppose if we kind of go chronologically in a minute and kind of go through the Doctors from Ecclestone onwards, the one thing I will say I liked about the Chibnall era for me was Sacha Dhawan's Master.
Oh,
I think he absolutely crushed it. I think he was incredible. And actually, again, I don't think we've ever had a bad Master. I think they have. I think they've now. I think every person who's taken on the role of the Master has done an exceptional job.
I'll say that with one little asterisk, and that is we've never had a proper long-term bad Master. I'd argue we've had technically two bad ones if you count the sort of intermittent regeneration Master, where he was under heavy prosthetics, colloquially dubbed as the crispy Master.
Oh yeah, the Freddy Krueger looking one.
Yeah, the weird sort of Freddy Krueger almost makeup, where he was never even credited as the actor who was playing him, but technically was the Master. But I'll discount that one.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I think you're right, actually, even on the short-term side of things, Derek Jacobi may have been the Master for a grand total of 60 seconds officially, but dear God, what a 60 seconds.
Absolutely. And he actually went on to do audio dramas, hasn't he? He has since done more audio dramas as the Master as well, which, but yeah, I mean, that was another one where I was just like, the idea of Derek Jacobi as the Master was just, it's just salivating.
Especially because, again, that would have been, what, 2007? We didn't know that Yana thing. I think there was rumours that, if I remember, there was rumours that the Master might be behind all of this, but we had no confirmation because we don't know who they're going to bring back from the originals. They're going to need the Master, etc., because there's no Time Lords, and obviously, but we knew there was one because You're Not Alone. But that reveal, I argue, like we say, what was the actor's name? It's just thrown a blank.
Derek Jacobi.
No, sorry, from
John Sim.
Jodie.
Oh, sorry, which Master? Jodie's Master.
Yes,
Sacha Dhawan.
Sacha Dhawan, that's it. Yeah. So I don't know. It's so hard to figure out the reveal between the Master. Saying that though, Missy's reveal, they're all so good. When you look at it, how you do it. I remember because I was having to watch that version on a phone. I'd been out on a night out. Me and a friend were watching it quietly, And I literally went over and went, I told you. I told you. That's a female master.
Which is what I really wish I could have had when John Sim came back at the end of Capaldi's run to do that double team with Missy. Brilliantly built, amazing watching those two mix. John Sim actually rocking the full master goatee as well, and as a man who can only grow a goatee, I will always salute that. But also, do you know, I try and be nice on the swearing just to make, you know, any clips easy to make, but fuck the BBC for spoiling that in the trailers.
Awful. Yeah, no, never should have bought that, because is it Michelle Monaghan? Is it Michelle Monaghan? Is that his name? Have I got her name?
Michelle Gomez.
Michelle Gomez, sorry. Michelle Gomez, when she, I mean, just go back and watch that scene where she goes, she goes, I could hardly keep calling myself the master. She does this most wonderful eye flare, because she doesn't say anything else. She just does amazing eye flare. And I was like, and again, I think she was incredible.
Their dynamic between her and the Doctor and her and herself.
Amazing.
There's such a, like, it was romantic, it was flirty, but it was dangerous flirty. You were like wondering whether they were actually going to end up in a relationship, and like, are we going to get some like rogue series of them two just going on some wild adventures? Because I'd have been all in for that.
Yeah.
Either one of them, either her and the Doctor, or both the Masters, when they're about to go off together at the end, of like, oh, please don't give us a Master series.
No.
There'd be a really weird like relationship.
I mean, with the redemption arc that she went on throughout Capaldi's run, especially, it's the one minor gripe I have with Sacha Dhawan's Master is Missy had gone on such a redemption arc that it was almost like a total 180 when Sacha Dhawan came in. To the extent that you had theories like, oh, you know, is this a Master that came like in between John Sim and Missy, and we're just seeing it out of order? Because it almost threw away all of the character development they had done with Missy. My headcanon more is of just a case of, well, you know, when you regenerate, it's a whole new personality, it's a whole new face. You have the memories, but it doesn't mean you agree with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think you're right on that one. And I think it was, you know, it was so well done in the, you know, with Michelle Gomez, that it was obviously testing the water at that point of like, you know, if you can accept a female master, perhaps you're going to accept a female Doctor, and obviously that's what we got. And you know, they eased us in because, you know, we had the female master, and then later on, it was the general, wasn't it, on Gallifrey? The general, the bald general, was shot, and then he regenerated into a woman. And it was like, okay, we're just slowly, you know, we're seeding that, and we're just, you know, we're gonna pay it off. Because you're gonna get female Doctor.
We were prepared. Obviously, I mean, we knew, didn't? I think we definitely knew she was going to be the Doctor when she regenerated. It was only the most recent one, we won't name just yet, that we haven't known who's coming, sort of thing.
No.
We knew he was coming, but it was just like, again, we were prepared. Like, I think this is one of the issues with people, you know, like what are we diving into that behalf Doctor Who. The more recent bit is that Doctor Who has always been a show about surprises and being like anything can happen, but it seems that in recent years it's like you're not your surprises are actually just what's going on in the world that you're trying to emulate, and it's
You're skirting around a certain word, so I'm going to say it for you. Is that a lot of people have been complaining that Doctor Who has gone woke.
But it has been woke since day
It's always been woke. All of these things.
It's always been woke.
Yeah, I mean, taking a sidestep on wokeness, you know, and it's and I think that's just how daft people are. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the term woke anyway, but it's like, you know, people are like, oh, the X-Men are woke. It's like, what? Like, do you actually understand the X-Men? You know, Star Trek is woke. I was like, are you serious? Like, did you see Star Trek back in the 60s? It was like, you know, so it's actually
about that green alien and Captain Kirk.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you know, and without being offensive, and I'm not trying to be offensive, and I'm not trying to be derogatory. No, but if you want to be, you know, you want to talk about 2005, Doctor Who was incredibly gay. You had a gay writer, you had gay characters, and it was done brilliantly. And it's like, and that was back in 2005. There was nothing, you know, it's not sudden that Doctor Who is now, you know, traversing these waters. It's been traversing these waters the whole time.
Yeah,
it just, you know,
I think where people are throwing the woke line at it, as I think, like, you're right, Doctor Who has always been woke. Like, you know, we've had, you know, you've had gay writers, we've had gay characters, we've had them addressing serious issues. One in episode 4 or 5 of the first season, you introduce John Barrowman's Captain Jack Harkness, who is, takes pansexual to the nth degree, and is one of the most universally
Cassandra,
beloved
a
characters
bit of
ever.
Skin was flirting with the Doctor.
Yeah,
At one point.
but I just think we're like, although Doctor Who has always been woke and brilliantly and rightly so, I think where it's getting the woke label thrown at it so much by the people who firstly fundamentally typically don't get it, but it's where I think it's kind of wearing it more on its sleeve, like it's making the story arcs about the quote unquote woke point. And I think that's where it's more overt. I think that's where some people may be having a bit of an issue with it. And to be fair, even I've had a couple of instances where I've been like, can we have one story this week that's not trying to make a point? I've said those words out loud.
That's it. We don't need like I appreciate that anyone. We literally said this last week, didn't we? Go. I don't. I'm not here to judge anybody on what you want to be, or whatever you are thinking. But if I'm watching something, I don't need to be educating me on that, because that's what you have to do now. Like, I'm here to watch Doctor Who, a show that has all, like we've already said, been like that. So I don't need to be. I'm okay with everything. I don't care. You are you, but I want to see this. I mean, funny enough, with the 60 specials, the Dr. Donna bit that went back to binary. I actually, when that happened, smiled my eyes. I was like, that was bloody clever, because of the way that it was like that. It was actually quite really. I was like, how weird is that? That was very clever writing. How you, because that obviously 2008 that would have been 07.
End of 08 would have been the end of Dr. Donna. Because Tennant's run ended in 09 coming into 2010.
Something that was being thrown around, that term was being thrown around then.
Yeah.
So to be able to make her final sentence is what brings her back. And the thing with Donna's daughter, like as well, I was like, oh my god, that actually makes really good sense. But it was like, that was good, but then you continue to do something like that in every episode. There was
and I think one of the fundamental problems which caused a lot of that in this latest series is the lack of episode number, because we were trying to condense it down into 8 to get everything across in 8 episodes. Now obviously I'm a kind of middle of the road guy. I do struggle with TV shows which are 24 episodes a series. I think that's a bit long, but I think like the average of 13 to 15 is a real sweet spot for me, of like the number of, if we're getting 13 to 15 episodes, I think that's great, because I think what any TV series needs, or that kind of TV series, you need what I consider the sort of what we just call meat and potatoes episodes. So, where you don't have to have these massive story shifts, you don't have to have these messages, you can just have a bit of character work, you can just kind of have let's go investigate something pretty straightforward, we'll finish it in one, and it's just a bit more for character development. We don't need to try carry the big story arcs over and things like that. And obviously when you're only going to have 8 episodes a series, you're not really going to get those meat and potato episodes, really. It's going to be a lot harder to get in. So I think that is, crucially for me, I think that's one thing that it really suffered from in these last 2 series. Is that we had such short series runs, whereas previously we'd had a good 13 episodes, and it gave us a bit more time to kind of develop our characters a bit more.
I've understood as well. The plan was that Ncuti was going to do at least 3 seasons, and I don't know. Obviously, we're never going to know the truth and stuff. But supposedly, last minute, he decided he wanted out of this series at the end, and they had to quickly change that bit at the end, because obviously there was still a lot of stuff from these last 2 seasons that have been set up since the 60th that are unanswered, that kind of feel like they're his story to finish.
Yeah.
The boss side of things, right? That was being brought up in the Tennant part of it, but we knew that was being set up for Ncuti, like Bad Wolf. Wolf was technically set up for Eccleston, but it became Tennant's thing as well. At the end, it's the part that saved him, etc. But not saved him, but it's they got. away from it. Like we're confused. I think that is right now is because we don't know whether, because there's rumors that there's going to be a hiatus. Like for us, it's like we heard like, oh, I didn't, but we know that Doctor Who fans heard this at the end of the 80s, and then in the middle of the 90s they thought they were getting it back, and then it stopped again. It's just like just take a step, listen to things, because I mean, again, we've completely. I think we all had in our head we were going to start with Eccleston and go up. We're sort of jumping between. We are literal time lords right now, going between our timelines.
Yeah, I mean, go on. I mean, on that note, you talk about a hiatus. And this is just my personal preference, and obviously I'm not a TV writer or whatnot. What I really would have preferred at this point in time, with them not really knowing where to go next or what they were going to do, I would have preferred that they, a bit like McCoy, they had just finished the series, kept shooting, and then, come back in a new series. And if they decided actually they couldn't keep shooting, just getting back for the regeneration scene at the start of a new series and do it like that. And actually what I think I would have, what I really would have loved, again, I am a bit fantasy booking here and a bit, this is my dream scenario. I would have really have loved to fill the gap between, them sorting their act out, is either give me a McGann miniseries or, oh God, it's really bad. I forget her name now. Fugitive Doctor. Joe Davies? Joe Martin, sorry.
Joe Martin, yes, yeah.
Give me a Joe Martin miniseries of her Doctor. Would have been happy with that as well.
One thing I really would love to see that they've never explored, despite the fact that she is literally married and descended from the Doctor at equal points, is what the hell happened to the Doctor's daughter?
Yeah.
Where's Jenny? I'll take a mini-series of that.
Yeah.
Thought she was amazing in that one episode.
You say about Joe Martin, obviously, again, another massive controversial part of the last 5 or 6 years of Doctor Who, the Timeless Child arc. I know I kind of don't like it. Also, kind of the story, like the tech to in, like the story was kind of cool, like what they explained. But it's also like you've just messed with my head of like every bit of research or everything I've known and read about Doctor Who since I really got into this in 2005-06. You've just changed it completely. Like you've just said that the first Doctor that William Hartnell, the guy that started this, who we all have to look up to, because there wouldn't be where we are if it wasn't for him doing that part so well. He wasn't that now the original. So who the fuck was the first one, and who took the TARDIS? Because she had a TARDIS, but we've seen a scene where he steals a TARDIS in the 50th. There's no other bits. We've literally seen that bit where he walks to the TARDIS and Clara goes, "This one." She had a phone box.
Yeah. So I've got, outside of the plot holes that get formed with that retcon, like, for example, how can Joe Martin's Doctor, Fugitive Doctor, have a TARDIS if she came before Hartnell, but Hartnell stole the TARDIS? Outside of plot holes created like that, I don't mind the concept of there being Doctors that came before Hartnell. I don't mind that bit. The thing I hate about The Timeless Child is you have made the Doctor more important than they needed to be. Like, to make it so the Doctor is like the genesis of the Time Lords, rather than this one madman with a box who ran away, which is what, that's kind of what's humanized the Doctor in many ways before. And
we've seen him reach to almost God level, like the end of coming to the end of time from the waters of Mars. We've seen him get to that point where he knows he could be a god.
Which I'm gonna jump in right now and say my absolute favourite Doctor Who episode right there.
Water of Mars.
Waters of Mars. It's my favourite.
That scares. I have the mouth on the water creatures
on the flood.
I have a weird phobia about it.
Terrifying stuff.
I've not been able to look at an Easter egg properly since.
I think Doctor Who is arguably at its best in two areas: when it goes full on, childlike whimsy, and when it goes full horror. And Waters of Mars is one of the episodes where they came pretty close to going full horror.
Absolutely. And I think I used the trailer. For those who don't know, I'm also a teacher by trade, and I was doing a lesson on genre with my Year 6 pupils, and I actually used the trailer for Waters of Mars to get them to try and justify what kind of trailer it was. Was what kind of action? kind of genre it was. Like, is this an action? Is this an action? Is it horror? Is it sci-fi? Is it? And it was great. It was great. It was a great lesson, that one, because they,
If I remember that trailer, it did kind of, it did intimidate you, but also because it was giving you that, because it showed you that bit, didn't it, where you heard the knock in the trailer, and it was like, oh my god, because that knock 4 times thing was like a year of waiting, like the 4 specials to keep hearing this knock 4 times thing, and that is so. I'm sorry, I've got to ask your opinion. That moment, that I actually get so sad because no, all the other doctors since they've regenerated in a great way, but that. What was it about that one? What was it about Tennant? What was it about that knock? Because I don't know about anyone else. Just before the knock happened, and he's like, "I'm alive." I realised. I just saw that flash in my head that he just went in that room.
Yeah.
I just as I thought it.
See, I think what was genius for me, it was the opposite, because everything that had happened in the episode, it had completely left my mind. The whole "he will not."
I almost forgot.
thing
Yeah,
completely left my mind. And I just, because I was just taking in everything else that happened. The Gallifrey was back, the Time Lords are back, Master had just come out, and actually the Doctor shouldn't have survived all of that, and he somehow survived. And then you just hear the 4 knocks, and I was just like, oh.
And Wilf as well, such an innocent, just saying there, just knocking. Technically, if I want to be a pedant, he knocked 16 times, but
but you know what I mean? That as soon as that's what I mean for me, because like I said, I don't know, like I just remember that moment. It was like that flash just as he did it, and I was like, because I'm thinking, where's the knock then? What's the knock? If the Master's gone, where's the wait? And then as it happened, like you said, that was it. As soon as it happened, everyone around the world watching that moment knew who was about to kill the Doctor. Had been using our Doctor. Like, no, please, no, not him.
And I think for me, and this is kind of a good jumping point to kind of go back to 2005 and start from there, is for me, this is what was great about Russell T Davies's writing in that first era, is the way he would seed things in very gently in each series. So, in series 1, it was Bad Wolf, and it was just, this little drop it in, we're going to drop it in, we're going to drop it in. And then, we get finally what Bad Wolf is. And I think about, parts of series 3, series 4, the whole Medusa cascade. It was just all these little things were really nicely seeded in. So by the time we got to what they meant, everything made sense. And you're like, okay, you can now introduce this. And I'm totally with it because you've been building me up to it. And I just felt that, in the most recent series, that's what was missing. Like, I felt like the whole Sutekh thing came about because, I just kind of got there from the online chatter about, it's going to be Sutekh, it's going to be Sutekh. But for me, there wasn't enough to lead us up to that. And the same with Omega in this later series. I felt like Omega just kind of came out of nowhere in the last, in the episode 7, we suddenly got this mention of Omega, and I was like, nobody knew, and modern fans wouldn't know who Omega is. Like, they just wouldn't know who he is. So I just felt those things were so badly woven in compared to how we got that from 2005 to 2010. Everything was so well built up, and we just missed that completely, I think, in this modern iteration.
Do we think a chunk with the Omega? Sorry, right? Do you think a chunk with the Omega might be they already knew Ncuti was leaving by that point? Maybe that's why it got rushed.
I mean, potentially, yeah. I think that could be. I mean, it's probably good. Okay, this is a good opportunity to talk about this final episode, this most recent episode. My biggest issue.
Where we're going with this?
Yeah, I mean, okay, so the most recent episode.
Time's not a straight line.
For number one, I really didn't know that. So I didn't know there was going to be a regeneration. So I felt like that kind of that really took me by surprise. And I think for me, number one, reintroducing Omega felt too similar to how we introduced Sutekh in the last one. It was a very, very classic villain, which not a lot of people would know about. So, I think that's hard to take. Then we kind of got the reveal of what Omega was, and I was just like, I kind of was watching it like, what is that? What is this giant skull baby thing? And then he's defeated straight away. He's gone, almost instantly he's gone. I mean, the one saving grace is that we still have a Rani. We didn't lose both Ranis. So I'll forget. I'll forget. Even though I thought, Archie Punjabi was great, and we only just kind of got to start to know her, and she's gone already. So it was the point where it was the one and this is where my disappointment came in with this final episode, and my frustration came in. Was there was that wonderful scene where like all was said and done, and Poppy disappears. And you have that wonderful back and forth between the Doctor and Belinda, and they're folding that piece of material, and it gets smaller and smaller, and you're clocking it. As they're talking, you're starting to clock it, and you're going, okay, Poppy's gone, I think, and Poppy's going to be forgotten. And then suddenly that piece of cloth is gone, and you're kind of like, Poppy's gone. After everything they've done, Poppy's gone. And I was okay with that, because not everything needs to have the super happy ending. And I was like, that's cool. What then really upset me is you have Ruby then talking to the Doctor, and I swear, and I'm sure I didn't just make this up, the Doctor winks at her as she's talking, as if to say, yeah, I know Poppy's gone, but it's okay, we'll move on and we'll get through it. And then less than 5 minutes later, the Doctor's out, he's then trying to save Poppy again. And this felt so tacked on, it's almost felt like there were two different endings, and they shot two different endings, and they were holding out to find out, like, well, are we going to get another? Are Disney going to agree to another series? We're not sure. Okay, looks like Disney are holding out. Shooty said he's now leaving. Right, bollock. We're going to have to go with this ending and suddenly we've got a regeneration again. My saving grace is the scene with Jodie's Doctor, which I thought was fantastic. Wonderful scene with Jodie's Doctor there. But then suddenly we've got Shooty, regenerating, and I was just going, what? Honestly, it felt like, for me, I don't know about you guys, it felt like we are jumping the shark at this point. We are just completely jumping the shark, and I just walked away feeling massively frustrated. And then obviously the regeneration itself, and I just went, huh? What? What is this?
So with the 2 season endings, like, I actually, like, the Sutek thing, I know I'm not happy with. To me, what I saw was a dog be took on a lead and dragged through time, and I'm like, how? Really?
Yeah, as a man who's taken his dog out for a walk who doesn't want to go before, I could relate.
Tie the dog to a lead, like, seriously. So that's how you defeat a god. You take the dog for a walk,
and
then like Omega, it was literally just a Hadouken basically, and he's gone. like, all right, Doctor's Ryu now. Ryu, sorry for the real fans, but yeah, both endings just didn't, to me, for both, and it really upset me, because I really was I enjoy Shooty. I was actually enjoying the episode with the singing. Like, people were kicking off about the singing in the Christmas at Church on Ruby Road. I was bopped along to that.
Well, there was 2 with singing. There was Church on Ruby Road with the Goblin song, which I'm all here for. The singing that kind of jumped the shark a little bit for me, which was funny because this one was all about music. It was the one with Maestro in it. It was the song "There's Always a Twist at the End," which I don't have an issue with the song, like them doing another song necessarily, especially in an episode that's all about music. The issue I have is that the song is shit.
It was not catchy at all, was it? It was like it was made in the 1940s. It was like, it's one of them songs you're never going to sing along to. It's like, like music before music was popular in the 50s. Like, you had Elvis in the 50s, before the 40s, name one artist.
But also thematically, it doesn't make sense either, because it makes sense on a thematic level because it's the music episode. Like, we've come to a world and music's gone, and we've just fought a music-based villain. It's the fact that the song is called "There's Always a Twist at the End." There is not a twist at the end of that episode. There is no twist. The only twist is Susan Twist, and no.
Yeah.
And that was a load of crap as well. Because again, you say the name Susan, right? Sorry, did we not see someone we've not seen? Technically, I know it was a special, but we've not seen since 1993. Did we not see the Doctor's granddaughter? We've seen her. We know. Come find me, grandfather. So what? And this is the first time in this episode we're going to mention her name. So what? Come find me, grandfather. Now Billy Piper's going to go looking for Susan. That makes sense. That doesn't seem right. Again, that felt like it should have been a Shooty thing, because they had this whole thing in then talking, and maybe I missed something, but there was this whole bit where they're talking about the fact that Doctors, Time Lords cannot have children. But why are we then seeing his granddaughter, there's no explanation. What do you mean they can't have kids? Because he's had a granddaughter since day one,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
And now, how do you resolve Rogue as well? How do you resolve Rogue without Shooty? Because again, Rogue felt like a Shooty thing that needed to be solved with Shooty of rescuing Rogue from the Hell Dimension, or wherever he is. And now that's probably not going to happen.
So again, who is Billy Piper now going to go? By the way, I'm the same person you fell in love with. Now I'm a woman, but obviously we were trying to make people accept the fact that
I mean, I just as we said, because and again, my frustration with this latest series came from, I thought we had an excellent Doctor and Shooty. I do think we were only just getting into him. We were the episode I really loved was the I know it's not called Eurovision Song Contest, but it was on the same night, so the Universal Song Contest episode, because we actually finally got a little bit of Doctor's darkness when he was torturing that guy, and because the Doctor should always have a little bit of darkness about him and anger, and we were finally getting that, and obviously we'd had The Well, which I thought was an exceptional episode, and I really felt like The Well made me feel like we were heading back onto form, and I'm like, okay,
The Well is the Midnight episode,
the Midnight sequel episode,
unbelievable,
superb, and I was like, right, you're finally remembering what Doctor Who should be. I feel like we're back on track, and as soon as we were back on track, we were flying off the tracks again. For me, Billy Piper is real stunt casting. I just didn't think, I'm not happy with it. I don't, and again, nothing against Billy Piper, exceptional actress, and again, I'm not against
to theorise.
I'm not against bringing back people who've been in Doctor Who already. I mean, Peter Capaldi, everyone talks about, when Peter Capaldi, he played Cassius, whatever it was. I was like, well, actually, he also played Frobisher in Torchwood, which no one seems to ever remember as well, that, he played Mr. Frobisher in Torchwood for 5 episodes.
Yeah.
So I didn't even have a problem because, again, Capaldi was such a good Doctor and he's such a good actor. I didn't have a problem with that. But this just massively felt like stunt casting.
That's been Doctor Who's got previous for it in that, like you say, Capaldi had a role before. Karen Gillan in that same episode played one of the cult followers and soothsayers, and obviously ends up being a companion. Martha Jones got cast as the companion literally 1 episode after her cousin was killed off in Tenants second series 2 finale, where we said goodbye, ironically, to Billy Piper for the first time. So I'm 100% with you, Ross. I think it is absolute stunt casting. It's right. We're losing viewers. People have kind of fallen off a little bit for one reason or another. What's going to get them back? Oh, I know. Get them talking about this. That being said, I'm willing to see where this goes. I think it's a side of Billy that we wouldn't have seen. Like, if they literally have her acting like Rose, it doesn't work.
No,
because 100%. It's a new face. It's not Rose being the Doctor. It's Billy Piper being the Doctor, and the Doctor adopting the face. It's like, oh, why have I adopted this face? Where has this come from? Because Rose has already made a reappearance without being Rose, as being
being
the moment, in the 50th, and so I'm okay with Billy making a reappearance if they're going down the same route that they did when they actually acknowledged Peter Capaldi's face, saying, "Why did I choose this face?" And they took him a full season to acknowledge it, properly, acknowledge this is why I chose this face. But from episode 1, he's looking in the mirror and going, "Why do I recognise this face? Who frowned me who frowned me these lines, but all of that." So I'm okay with Billy on that note, as long as they acknowledge it and it turns into a plot point of why Rose. But if they've got her acting like Rose, it doesn't work, and it doesn't negate the fact, even if they make chicken salad out of it doesn't change the fact that you called it. It's stunt casting. That the only reason Billy's even back is because they want to get us talking about it. And hey, what do you know? Podcast, we're talking about it.
So but there's theories out there because again, is she playing the Doctor? Because they obviously the credit, but again, because they want us to be coming on podcasts talking about it, they want to be on forums, they want us doing that. Now, my own theory is that, like we said, just get something in there that's going to get them talking and go, oh my God, they're going that way. we know that, I mean, I know my favourite doctor is technically still out there, who is her doctor, as such.
Mm-hmm.
One of her doctors, the doctor she was in love with, he's still out there. They've just brought Billy Piper, maybe Rose, maybe Bad Wolf, maybe Sutek again. I don't know. Come back, but they've brought her into it. Is this going to be a doctor? Like, is this something to do with that? Is there a Tennant and is there a Rose together? Because, and are they thinking the only way to make this popular again is to put David Tennant and Billy Piper? But I'm sorry, yes, but I would have loved that 20 years ago. Now, I love Tennant, and I'm so happy he came back. But also at the same time, like, I don't want to see him just for
No.
just for
No.
nostalgia
Yeah,
reasons.
and
I'm happy
he
with what
has
I've
an
seen of
ending.
him.
Yeah, he
And I'm
has an
happy for
ending
to
now. They
come back
gave him a
for
happy ending.
at 50th anniversary specials. Because again, when they did that by generation, I did not understand. I was like, this is great, and I get the idea, but like, are you just basically saying that if you ever need David Tennant again, he's out there?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's cheating. That's
I
cheating.
I, like many, have a bit of a headcanon with Tennant as well, in that, in my head and many others' heads, whether they go this route or not, Tennant's, they've brought Tennant back to also explain the. I'm not saying that Tennant's retired doctor becomes this guy, because they've already established the canon of the only reason why Ncuti Gatwa has no trauma is because Tennant's doctor does the healing. So like, they are just out of sync with each other. It's not like there's a totally separate one. It's like eventually that one does become Ncuti. But I think one of the reasons why I like the idea of having brought Tennant back is because it does better explain the presence of the curator from the 50th. You know, you will revisit some of the old favourites.
Yeah, which is again good, but we don't overuse him. Please don't overuse him.
No. And I think we
We've seen him quite a bit.
Yeah, and I love that he was back for the anniversaries, and I'm fine with that. And I'm fine that that technically 14 was separate from 10. I'm okay with that as well. That actually technically they're not the same Doctor. And I did like that. I mean, it's one of my favourite scenes from the Giggle is the Toymaker cutting the strings of the puppets, and David Tennant's 14 reacting to deaths that occurred with 12 and 11, which I just thought was wonderful.
Weird, wasn't it? Weird seeing Tennant talking about stuff since Tennant.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
But I love that because again, I thought
Because you look at David
Tennant played
Tennant
well.
and you're thinking, oh yeah, he's been through all of that we've
Yeah.
seen.
And that's
But
all right then.
For me, where we stand right now, and again, bit of wishful thinking, bit of what I would want. If I'm totally honest, I really, and again, I don't have a problem with Billie Piper as an actress at all. I only really want her as a transitional Doctor to get me to the next one. I would be happy if she's there for the Christmas special. Something's not quite right, and she just knows she's got a limited time, or she knows. Again, I don't mind how they write it in, saying actually, because you did that to yourself, this regeneration is unstable, and etc. etc. And then, boom, we get a. I mean, I'm really wish fulfilling now. We get like an Andrew Scott, or an Eddie Redmayne, or someone like that come in and be the Doctor. So yeah, I kind of hope it's a short run thing. I'd love a Christmas special with her as the Doctor, being super confused. What's going on? Why have I got this face? I'm in the middle of a crisis. I've got to get out of this. And by the end of it, she regenerates again. I don't really have a problem with that. I'm not sure how I would feel about her as a long-term Doctor. I find it too odd with the Rose history, because you'd inevitably sitting there thinking, is she being too much like Rose? Does she feel like a Doctor, or is she just a Rose? They've written themselves into a bit of a corner. Personally, I feel like they've written themselves into a corner, and they've really got to think how they get out of this one.
They've got a lot of work to make everyone happy, because a lot of us are confused. Hating on Doctor Who. I don't think I ever could, but we've suffered with it a little bit. Like, come on, there's a spark you're missing. You're missing that spark that we need for Doctor Who. Because I used to watch it like Christmas Day. I used to shut myself. I mean, it's different because I didn't have kids and stuff then, but I used to lock myself away. And no matter what, Christmas Day, I'm going up to watch that episode, because I'm not seeing anything online. I'm going to watch it.
Proper appointment viewing.
I'm not No, I'm lying because of actually the iPlayer. The first season was great for me of Chewy because they were releasing it at midnight, Friday, Saturday morning. So when I got home from work on Friday, I was one of the first people that watched it because usually now with my job, I'm the last person to watch it. I'm usually driving when it's on. But this season it was like 9 a.m. so I couldn't see it till later. But I'm not, I'm not like as rushing to watch it as I used to be. That's what I've noticed.
Mm.
I'm just watching it because I've got to watch it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's again. I think I watched all of this series on iPlayer, just and I'd go and do other things, and then like 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock Saturday. Oh, I'll just fire up iPlayer and I'll watch it now, rather than I need to see this live every week, which is what it was like back in the mid 2000s. I would literally just be like, right, I'm clearing my whole schedule so I can sit and watch Doctor Who.
I went one worse with the most recent series. I did the thing that I never do, which is I would wake up the day after it went out. I would then go on like I would go on like a review website or the forums or something like that, find out if it was a good episode or not, and only watch it if it looked like it was going to be good from those forums and from those reviews. That is the worst way to watch TV because you already know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I'm only watching it if I feel like, oh, it looks like it was a good one in the end.
Wasn't the final episode May 31st?
Yeah,
Yes,
I have places to be that day.
It was. Yeah.
It was.
It was.
Not one of us mentioned it on that day, but I know because I'm pretty sure I was thinking, not with all the stresses I had, I was always like, if I see one thing about Doctor Who online today, that's going to cause any of the shows I've had today to make it worse for everybody.
Well,
and I got spoiled.
Yeah, well, that's how I found out. I literally was on Twitter. So we were driving. We finished the show. Finished Never Say Die. And me and Skip were driving. I think to McDonald's to get some food. And I literally thought, I'm going to have a quick flick on Twitter. And there it was. It was like, Shooty Gatwa is regenerating into... And I was like, whoa. Number one, what? Shooty Gatwa's regenerating? What the hell? And then it was the Billy Piper. And I was like, oh, my God. So, and so I think... I can't remember if I watched it that night, though, or still waited to the next day to sit down and watch it with, with my leg elevated and ice on it. But yeah, it was... So yeah, that was crazy. But... like we said though, I think we've got a lot of work to do to get us back to that kind of 2005, 2006 era, which really was the peak for me. By 2007, I was absolutely loving it. I just like I said, I wasn't going to miss it. I absolutely loved the show. We had so many good episodes. We had so many good actors rolling in through the doors of Doctor Who. And I just feel a bit lost. I feel like. I almost feel, again, not, because I was an adult at the time. It feels like we're back in 1989 when the McCoy era ended,
and you're not.
And they were kind of like, we don't know what to do with Doctor Who at the moment, and we're going to go on a 7-year break until 1996, and then we're going to go on a 9-year break until 2005. And I kind of feel that's where we are with Doctor Who at the moment. And with a lot of modern media. Especially, existing IP, and I'll give you my closest example in a minute. We're almost too afraid to take breaks from these things, and I think we need a break. I do think we need a bit of a break. And my other examples to use right now is when was the last time we had a break from Batman? We have been hit over the head with a Batman since 2004. Was it 2005 when Batman Begins come out? 2005. Yeah. So we've been battered over the head with a Batman for 20 years. We have just had Batman shoved in our face. No, not shoved in our face. I'm not saying it's even a bad thing, but we have kind of the one that's really got me lately is Jurassic World Rebirth.
Thank you. I was about to say that.
So, Jurassic World, right. So if we look at the Jurassic Park, I know we're going off Doctor Who slightly, but we'll come back around. We look at the Jurassic Park franchise, right? There is one, out of those 6 films, there is one exceptional film, which is Jurassic Park, and this is my opinion, one good film, which is Jurassic World, and the other 4, and if you don't mind me swearing, are pretty dog shit. We've got 4 Jurassic World. So you have given me more terrible Jurassic Park films than good Jurassic Park films, and your solution is to hit me with a 7th one. And I'm like, give me a break. I just need a break from Jurassic World Park, whatever, because you've just too much. And I kind of feel that's where we are now. Is like
give you another example that's even like weirdly annoying. Terminator.
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
They seem to have actually learnt their lesson lately. Like we haven't had a Terminator for a few years now, but like there was a
3 years
period.
without one.
Yeah,
Like
that
Terminator, like I can't remember what I was listening to the other day. It was whatever podcast I was listening to, and they were talking about like, it was, I don't know if you know, Tell 'em Steve Dave with Q from Impractical Jokers and the guys from Comic Book Men. They talking about back. You watched Terminator 1, 2, 3 is, I actually like number 3.
three's all right, apart from the fact that it's broadly just treading the same water as 2 did.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a rehash with the plot twist at the end.
Yeah,
But other than that,
good.
that's one of the reasons why it's all right.
But you go on every Terminator Salvation. I don't think I've ever actually fully watched that film because I don't know. To me, it's like I didn't want to see that side of things. I want to know what happened after you skipped. We just saw the world end. We're now 30 years into it. Like, and then 5, and then 6, and then the time. Like Jesus Christ, you've done what Halloween did. You have another one, Halloween. You erased everything that we've just seen. Like. You just erased everything.
Yeah, but again, I mean, it's the problem with any existing IP now as well. Like Star Wars, how much we've just been battered with Star Wars. Like when you think about, when we got the prequels, love them or hate them, we'd had, such a huge amount of time between the original trilogy and then the prequels. We were so excited for the prequels because we were like, fantastic, and then we had a bit of a gap between sequel. It was a 10-year gap between prequels and sequels, and I was like, okay, this is great. I mean, but now every month we are being slapped in the face with Star Wars content, and it's too much.
I mean,
and I'm a lover of Star Wars. I mean, I love Star Wars probably more than any other franchise, but I can only take so much of it.
With all the extra stuff they're bringing in with Star Wars as well, because they keep on it seems like the hot thing they really always want to address is like the gap between Order 66 happening and the end of Episode 3 and Episode 4. That they always want to kind of plant their flag there a lot of the time, or the immediate aftermath of, they always want to address like the gaps in between the trilogies. The problem with them constantly setting stuff in between the gap between, Episode 3 and Episode 4 is, I don't know about you, I don't think the Empire was very good at their job. How many Jedi survived Order 66?
Terrible.
That stuff did they? I mean, I know like Vader went around killing people, but like both them Death Stars, yes, all right, Alderaan got wiped out, but you know what I mean. Both them Death Stars didn't do very well, did they? Both of them didn't get. Well, it wasn't very successful, other than one planet going.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, but again, IPs. I'll go back to the Batman thing. We were literally talking about this on last week's episode because we were doing a DC episode about the hype for DC at the moment. I'm so excited because it's Superman's everywhere. And have you seen what James Gunn has said, Ross, recently about Batman? Is that people are kicking off that the Batman 2 has been delayed, etc. He goes, but my status on anything with the DC is if you haven't got a good script, don't bring it to me.
Perfect. Yeah.
So to me is like that. You have just told me in one sentence that I have all the faith in the world in you because, again, you haven't made one bad superhero movie. Go and look on Rotten Tomatoes from audience and reviews, Mr. Gunn. This Superman you're bringing me. And again, we said about the Batman. Like, since I've been a kid, pretty much every Batman that we know of, bar what's his name? Oh my God, Adam West has been. I'm 39, and I know at least 8 or 9 Batmans I can name, which is great because there's a multiverse. But I don't want to not see Batman soon, but I don't want to see the same Batman. I don't want to see his parents die. I don't want to see. I want to see Batman being Batman. I want to see a Robin. I want to see a Nightwing. I want to see the comics. Don't just start him again. Don't do this. Give him a break. Think what would people be surprised to see? What have they already seen a million times?
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I've got faith in James Gunn to do that as well. And just to come back on with the Superman side of things as well, I said last week, I'm not usually the biggest Superman fan out of all the superheroes that I do like. I've never been a massive Superman guy. I got hyped for the new Superman film, and case in point, this weekend just gone, me and my other half went to the cinema to see the How to Train Your Dragon remake that they've done, which, by the way, if you haven't seen it yet, brilliant, amazing, proper, done a remake justice right there. But in the trailers before the movie started, the Superman trailer dropped, And if I'm not a Superman fan, my other half fundamentally is not a Superman fan. And I'd said to her in the lead up to going to the cinema, I said, "Oh, do you know what I'd like to see as well? You know I don't usually say this, but I'd really like to go see the new Superman movie. It looks like it's going to be really good." And then the trailer for Superman dropped during the trailers for How to Train Your Dragon. And at the end of the trailer, my other half looked at me and went, "Yeah, all right then."
Confirmation needed.
Can't be too bad. Can't be too bad. So
Yeah,
if
doing something right.
if I draw us back to Doctor Who, and I think I don't know, again, with the most recent series, we also kind of felt that sprinkling of Disney interference, which I think is the other thing that I think a lot of people were worried about, and like I said, I kind of felt that's what we were kind of getting, is this kind of Disney interfering with things, and it's not turning out. And I think, as we stand now, we still don't know if we're getting another series yet, do we? Or at least with the partnership with Disney, we don't seem to know where that's going. So, like I said, I don't think, I still love Doctor Who. I still think, it's a fantastic program. It's such a British institution as well. And I think that's the thing as well. It's like, it's kind of, for me, there's a couple of key roles from Britain, like James Bond is a key role for British actors and, and whatnot. And Doctor Who is as well. And I just think it's such a British institution. And I'd hate to have a world without Doctor Who. But I think, I just left the last series very deflated, very kind of, okay, so where are we going next? And I do think there needs to be some time to just stop. And I would rather they just stopped and took time to, like you mentioned about like James Gunn, he would rather stop and take time. That's what I kind of want Russell T Davies to do. I want him to stop and take time and really rethink the plan here about where they go next. And again, had I been in charge, which I'm not, I either would have ended that with no regeneration and just, we'll carry on with Shooty, and if we have to regenerate him in the next series, fine, we'll do that. Or I'll regenerate and I'll cut to black on the regeneration scene. Like I'll have the glow and the spark and the blah, 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 but I will cut to black and I won't give you the next Doctor until we can work things out of where we're going to go.
I think that's the thing, is it? Because yes, again, it's Billy Piper. Like, it was such a shock, even though it was spoiled online, that it was Billy Piper. But right now, like you say, we don't know what we're going to get anymore. So if you just left us on that, and we're never going to know, and potentially it's going to have a break comeback, and that's going to be ignored because we've seen this on Doctor Who before. Or again, we've just said it. We've had Eccleston, Tennant, we've had Matt Smith, we've had Peter Capaldi, we've had Jodie Whittaker, we've had Ncuti Gatwa, we've had Tennant again, we've had
John Hurt,
Martin, we've had, hang on, let me think, the War Doctor.
Yeah, John Hurt, yeah.
McCann come back. We've had, how many other Doctors come back in? Now there's reason, we've got the towns. We've had a lot of Doctors in the last 20 years. Breather. Okay, we're okay with it as long as it's done right. Just slow down, because we all have our favourite Doctors, but now there's a lot to choose from.
Yeah,
a lot to choose from. In 20 years.
Yeah, and on that note, I now have to ask the question: favorite, and I think I might know you guys, but favorite Doctors, favorite Doctor or Doctors.
I've actually got 3 questions I want to hear answered on this. That was one of them.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll do that one first. So favorite Doctors. I think Rye's already pitched his tent in terms of where I think this is going.
Because of this, I don't look like him, but he'll always be my Doctor.
Okay.
So Tennant for me is right up there. I, however, have a real soft spot, and everyone always looks at me funny when I say this. I love Grumpy Uncle Doctor. I love Peter Capaldi's Doctor.
Nice.
It's like the sarcastic, done with this, then morphing into cool/cringe dad Doctor towards his later seasons as well. When you finally see like the passion and the loving side of the Doctor come out again. Like, he's a Doctor that has a character arc that very rarely happens with the Doctor. And I love every version of that character. I love him early when he's just, the brilliant line with Clara when he's introducing himself. He goes, "Oh, by the way, this is Clara. She's my she goes, "I'm his carer." He goes, "Oh yeah, she cares, so I don't." That sums up his Doctor in a nutshell for me. I love every part of Peter Capaldi's Doctor to the extent that, and I never thought I'd have someone beat Tennant, but he beats Tennant for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you mine in just a moment. But actually, for me, Capaldi's is probably my favourite final speech before Regeneration. I thought
Never
for
repairs.
me, I know what Ryan's going to say because he's gonna go with I don't want to go, but
Oh no, because that's not a speech. That's a moment.
that's a
No,
moment. That's a moment.
that because that is heartbreaking. Every not no like this is what I said earlier. No other Doctor has been that heartbreaking. It's sad. That was fucking heartbreaking
Yeah.
Yeah.
because that. And have you ever seen that video where you see all four versions that they
See the
Oh,
full.
filmed?
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
incredible,
Like
incredible.
when you watch them, you know which one we see, don't you? Instantly, we know which one, and you literally agree with what he says afterwards. Go,
Mm,
that was the one.
Yeah.
yeah,
Because that one where it's really sad was like that one
There's
is
one
what.
where he's practically bawling,
yeah,
and
Yeah,
he literally
horrible.
like ramps it up by like 10% with each take.
yeah.
That crying one was horrible. I was like, if that would have been the one, that would never have hit. The one they chose, they nailed that one.
Absolutely spot on.
Really
Yeah,
did.
I think that's a fantastic move. But yeah, I really love Capaldi's whole final speech. I thought that was absolutely beautiful the way he walks around the TARDIS and um, his final line of "Doctor, I let you go." I just thought was absolutely
Yeah.
beautiful.
Goes
But my
goes back to the Tenant bit, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I let you go
I
because
I
let you
let
go.
you go.
again, it's a different personality.
Yeah.
David Tennant was the romance one. Really,
He was the
he was
romantic.
Romeo. He was the
Yeah.
Romeo of Doctors because they
As
did that in the 50th with the
Yeah.
Queen and everything.
Yeah,
He was the one everyone fancied.
And as Matt Smith and John Hurt put it, like when he's getting kissed by both Elizabeths, does this start to happen a lot? Yeah, it does happen from time to time. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. But I think I actually after loads of consideration, I actually Matt Smith has been my favourite Doctor. Um, I think he just had such a wonderful. He's slightly odd looking. He's good. He's handsome, but in a very unconventional way. He's tall. He's gangly. There is something incredibly alien about him, just in
Yes.
his appearance. And I think he played all facets really well. Romantically, he was quite awkward with the romance. And I think he could do the quiet fury, he could do the wisdom, and I think so. I think when he was selected, I think it might have even been Russell T Davies or Stephen Moffat had said he's got an oldness behind young eyes, which is perfect for playing the Doctor because he's playing this 900-plus-year-old alien, and there's something about him that can do that behind this very, very young face. And for me, I just felt like he could be quirky, he could be serious, he could be goofy, he could be quite menacing. I just felt like he nailed all the facets for me. So I think in when I look back, he kind of became my favourite.
Yeah. He might be up there as well with also being the most badass Doctor. Like that's the side of the Doctor that out of all the qualities you just listed. Like I think Matt Smith might have the most quantity of lines and scenes that's maybe gone. Oh, that was cool.
With Matt Smith, because as we've noticed with David Tennant was it was just something about him I couldn't get over. It took me a long time. It took me the whole first season of Matt Smith. I wasn't settling. I was enjoying it, but I missed my man. I missed my guy. I missed the guy I could dress up as, and I was sad, and it really struggled. By the time the second season come back, I'd watched the first one 2 or 3 times. By the time he got to what was the arc in the second one? It was astronaut. The
It
astronaut, wasn't it?
was it was the Impossible Astronaut leading
Yeah,
on to the
Impossible.
the wedding. Yeah.
that's right.
I really started getting into the loving what they were. There was more teasers that we were talking about earlier. Russell T Davies was good at planting seeds. There was more. I was getting into it because there was little things. But as I said, I think at the end of Matt Smith, I found there was certain things I was thinking about that was like they didn't answer this question for me. But I did. I loved Matt Smith, but it just took me a long time. But then I learned when Capaldi come in and he was going to be. I was like, I think I was learning then like, oh yeah, I've got to remember this is going to be a different character.
Yeah,
It's going to be a different person playing the same person. Got to remember that. Capaldi again, loved him. Jodie again, really loved her, but she just sometimes the storylines just to me was very hard to watch.
I,
Chibnall
I,
killed it.
Yeah, the flux. I did not enjoy the flux. It just confused me. I just kept getting confused. And this was on the back of, and we'd already had the Timeless Child, which was enough to kind of make your head spin. And then the flux, I was just like, I couldn't follow it. I think I watched all the flux and went, I didn't really know what happened there. And I ended up watching a TikTok video from a Doctor Who content creator, and I was like, and she explained it. I was like, oh, okay, no, I get it. And I was like, it's not good when I have to dig that deep to
spend another
understand.
20 minutes doing research to figure out what you've just seen.
Yeah.
But did you? So you say Matt Smith? I generally thought you were going to say McGann because you've been selling a bit of love for McGann.
I mean, McGann for me is just that is the one that got away. There's not enough McGann for me to solidly put it. You know, obviously the '96 movie, he was, you know, we were just warming up with that. Obviously, we never got a follow up to that until we had Night of the Doctor. And just in 5 minutes was that episode, 5 minutes long. He absolutely crushed it. It's just that one line where he's like, "You're the keepers of the eternal boredom," and they said like the eternal flame. He went, "That's the one." And he was just incredible. He was amazing. I really would have given anything for more McGann.
For me, it's the McGann line, "Somebody bring me knitting."
That's it.
Gets me every time.
I can't believe that we did not think, like, we didn't really put two and two together because they were doing Doctor Who magazines with him in a new costume. It's like, did we really think that was for the audio books? They were doing this whole photo shoot with him with a new sonic screwdriver just for an audio book.
Yeah,
how did we not figure that out?
I think he could have maybe have gone to the top of my list had we got more of him, but we didn't. We just didn't get enough. So I think that's why Matt Smith kind of tops it for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fair play.
With McGann, for me, my favourite line of his is the opening line. I'm the Doctor, but not the one you were thinking.
Yeah, that's it.
Brilliant.
Great line.
I think we need to start wrapping up because Ross,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we'll be up early for work.
Of course.
Got to do some TDW news.
Yes. Before we do, I've got two more quick fire questions
Go on,
that we need to get answered.
Sorry.
So we've done favourite Doctors. That's the important one.
Nice.
Quick fire question number 2. Favourite companion. Go.
Oh gosh.
I mean, I'll jump in.
Go on.
I'll jump in. For me, it is and always will be Amy Pond. I really like the. Actually, once you got over the infatuated with the Doctor part of it, I love the relationship with Rory. I love what she does. And you know what? A very close second on companion-wise is Rory. Rory's arc of actually, you know, kind of growing into being the worthy husband, and arguably even more worthy than the Doctor ever could be, waiting for 2,000 years. The "would you like me to repeat the question" line at the start of I think it's A Good Man Goes to War. Like Rory's up there in a very close second for me, but I love Amy. I think I just like sarcastic Scottish people because Capaldi's my favourite Doctor. But that's me. Guys, what it is for you?
It was your favourite part of the show.
Yeah.
Well, it was until he got himself fined. But
Am I allowed to pick River? Does she count as a companion? I don't know.
River counts.
She's literally married to him.
I think, I really love River. I thought Alex Kingston's River was such a great character. And actually, my favourite River, even though she is more of a Matt Smith era character, I loved her episode with Capaldi. I just think that moment where she's going off on one, saying about, you know, and he wouldn't be standing with me in it, and then she just looks over to Capaldi and he's grinning at her, and it's a beautiful.
Hello, sweetie.
And he does the "hello, sweetie." I've rewatched that moment. I think more than any other Doctor Who moment. I just think it's such an incredible scene. So if we can count River as a companion, I think she'd be my favourite.
I think she counts.
That River moment, that beautiful full circle. Like, I'd like to see her come back. She hasn't come back since then, has she?
No. They ended her with Capaldi.
Yeah, but no, there was rumours. I'm sure I heard her in an interview say that there was talks that she was going to come back. I was kind of like, is it not Forest of the Dead? Forest of the Dead?
That's her ending.
Forest of the Dead and Silence in the Library. That's when she gets introduced.
Ending, her first episode, the ending to what we see is beautiful. Like, it's a beautiful full circle moment. We don't need to.
No,
we never got the Doctor's daughter come back and finish her arc, but. But
River had an ending.
We had it. And for me, in that episode, is when he does its over-exaggerated reveal of the TARDIS.
Yeah. My entire understanding of space and time has just been...
It's phenomenal.
But also, again, that perfect ending as well, with just that one line. How long is a night on Beryllium?
Brilliant.
Yes. Was it? Yeah, years.
27 years or something like that.
Yeah.
So, Ryan, your
favourite companion?
Yeah, who's yours?
Yes.
So, going through it all, I let's sit there and I go, who do I actually think Clara. And
do you know what? I am a Clara defender.
because there was something about Clara. There was like the Matt Smith part was great, but I think it got just a bit better. The one thing I didn't like was the Danny Pink, like there was something about the Danny Pink bit just didn't sit right with me. Because the way, you know, the scene on the volcano is phenomenal about bringing him back, but like I feel like that would have been a sweet ending, a nice ending for her, was him and her. But like, because I really liked him, the way he stood up to the doctor with the army, yes sir, I thought he was brilliant, and I didn't like the way they give us him and then took him straight away. Yes, surprise and all that. But Clara, something that first episode with Capaldi, that moment with the phone. Because I think I read a rumor that was potentially going to be a thing. So when I saw it and she gets the phone start going off, I remember thinking, "Oh, please be him," because that was because it separated her relationship with Smith, brought in Capaldi, and it was a different dynamic. It was different dynamic between them, and I think that she had such a great, weird ending, but a great story. Like I don't know, something about that. The whole thing with what led into the name of the Doctor, the war, the Day of the Doctor, all that arc going forward was really good, and one of my favourite companion series. It's probably the bit I go back and watch the most. Is that around there, if I'm going back.
I'll stand by as well. Yeah, I love Clara's arc. I didn't like what they did with Danny Pink, but I do like despite the fact she moves on. Like, you can tell it fundamentally breaks her, and she starts becoming more and more reckless after that, which is what ultimately gets her killed. But I loved everything with Clara. But I had one final question on the quickfire side of things. This might be the hardest question to answer, so might not be that much for a quickfire one. But who is the one Doctor Who, and I'll narrow it down, I could have said character, I'm going to say villain, who is the one Doctor Who villain or monster or alien that you hope to never see again?
Oh,
we talk about overkill with Batman and Doctor Who and the like. What's the one villain or alien that you never want to see again?
Well, currently Omega. If they're gonna have that giant skull baby back again, I never want to see Omega again. If that's what they're going to
do. Skull Baby and Scooby Doo from the last two series, I can do with ever. Never.
Yeah.
I didn't know who they were beforehand, and I've gone back and now watched the Sutek episode, and he was fucking cool. To be fair,
yeah,
he was pretty awesome. What they did with him was horrible, and the whole thing of he's been hanging on to the TARDIS. Have you seen? And that's become a meme. Like the fact that he's been on the TARDIS this whole time. There's all these jokes, like when Captain Jack's holding on and Sutek's peering around the side.
Yeah.
It's become a running joke that this dog was. Outside the kennel.
Either of those two currently, which is really bad. I mean, I generally can't think of anyone else who I wouldn't mind seeing back at some point. But those two last iterations, unless they're gonna do them much better.
I've got a potentially controversial one, and it does have an asterisk next to it. Admittedly, is that I do not want to see. Assuming they keep the current way they've been presenting them for the last however many years, I don't want to see the Cybermen again.
Okay.
Now, the asterisk is the way they presented them in the first Tennant one with the parallel universe, where you actually see the machinery come down, and that scarred me at one point. It's like they're actually cutting the brain out and all of that. Like them. It's like that presentation of the Cybermen, fully on board with. I loved the way, in a harrowing way, they presented it with Bill Potts and the return of John Sims Master, and the Mondasian Cybermen when they came back there. Just that scene where she walks into the recovery ward and you could just hear pain, pain, pain. Love that presentation. However, my issue with the Cybermen in terms of how they presented near enough every Cyberman other than the overexposure is Cybermen, in terms of like the normal like metal shell Cybermen, not the Mondasian ones where it's like, clearly a person with, attachments. The metal shell Cybermen, for me, it is not putting a human in a suit, which is what you always see. Like, you break the, like, it's like the lone Cyberman that you had there with, oh God, was it The Haunting of Villa Diodati, with Jodie Whittaker, where again you see the faceplate broken and there's a face behind it. Danny Pink, when he comes back, takes the faceplate off. It's still Danny Pink underneath it. Even, dear God, James Corden. I do not need to see the faceplate go closing over James Corden's face and then gets reopened with the power of love no on 100 levels. If you're going to keep presenting the Cybermen like that, no. Like, I need these Cybermen to be like fundamental, like inhuman. You've taken every last bit of humanity away. Monsters.
Yeah.
It's like a cheesy RoboCop.
Yeah. Exactly. I thought RoboCop, and I saw Danny especially, it gave me such bad naff RoboCop vibes. So yeah, with a couple of caveats, I do not want to see the Cybermen again anytime soon.
Sure. But I tell you what, I am ready for a decent Dalek story now. I'm ready for a decent Dalek story. Bring me back in, next series. Bring me back with some decent Dalek stories, and I'll be happy.
Yes.
I personally believe the reason Shooty left was because he wasn't getting a Dalek story.
No, he wasn't. That's all he wanted. All he wanted was a Dalek story, and he didn't get it.
Of course you are. You're the Doctor. Of course you want to see a Dalek.
No.
Even if he's just walking past one. Oh, there you go. That's all right. He's dead. It's fine. But yeah, no, it's hard for me. I can't think of a villain I wouldn't want to see other than these most recent ones because they're the ones that are sticking out. Like, that was bad, very bad. I mean, the Weeping Angels, I think they got a bit silly.
They started to get a bit nerved.
Petrifying. They like they didn't know where to go with it after. I mean, yes, the Amy episode, like that is.
Oh,
but after they come a bit of a joke, and they're meant to be petrifying.
Literally petrifying. I think the moment where the Angels fundamentally broke for me in relation to petrifying, it was the moment you saw them move. And funny enough, that was like their second appearance. Which it was in funny enough, the first shot, but not the first released Amy Pond and Matt Smith episode. Let's give her a proper name, Karen Gillan. But yeah, it was the first episode they shot together, but I think it was like the third or fourth that got dropped in that season. And I think the Angels' like second appearance, but like you see them move when like they realise that Amy actually can't see them. You actually see one of them go.
Yeah.
Which for our listeners was me doing the slow head turn. But and it's at that point they broke for me. I did not find them scary after that point. And despite the fact that it was an amazing ending for Amy and Rory in that episode, and I thought it was a brilliant episode, I no longer found the Angels scary.
Yeah, because that first episode was just unbelievable. Oh yeah, the Statue of Liberty thing. It was Ghostbusters 2, wasn't it? I was expecting the people of New York to start singing to it. And Rick Moranis just to randomly, but that would have been amazing, to be honest, if Rick Moranis would have just turned up to take out the Statue of Liberty. But yeah, okay, because we are definitely getting like, we'll do some TDW news, we'll run through it. So TDW news time, ding ding. Kurt, do you want to give up? Obviously, the Patreon is now live. This is very quickly. Yes. The Patreon we mentioned last week is now live. Never Say Die is on our Patreon. There's the one tier. It's £3. You'll go see all the extras you get, bonus content, but that is now live. You can see Never Say Die. 2 versions are available. The straight version and Kurt's commentary, and maybe some more coming.
Yes.
You've got something else that you want to explain.
Yes, so yeah, as Ryan said, we have got the 2 versions of Never Say Die. We wanted to do 2 because some people kind of want to see it as it happened, like as if you're part of the crowd. So there's a version with no commentary, literally raw recording, that's all. And then, there's a full broadcast version with commentary as well. Also, worth a mention, although you can subscribe to our Patreon at the tier, which we do appreciate because it really helps the channel out and helps Talks with Dorks out and helps us do even more of these wrestling shows, even bigger and better than we were able to do. We proper grassroots Never Say Die. And don't mind admitting that the bank account took a sizable hit. More specifically, Ryan's bank account took a sizable hit. But it helps us.
Is on sale now, by the way.
That's just a backdrop.
Yeah.
Ryan's living on the street at the moment. That's just a virtual background. But yeah. So if you subscribe to the Patreon at that £3 tier, it really helps us out, and we'll make it worth your while for everything for it. If you don't want to pay a monthly fee, you can actually pay a one-off fee outright to have the shows. So you can basically just pay £4 to have the show if that's all you want, and that's just one-off £4. Thank you very much. You get the show.
That's
But
a
also,
explanation of Patreon that I was going to talk about. But yes, come on, you've got the other one.
we do. Now, if you want to get an indication as to what you're getting from the show, at the very least, plus some extra behind-the-scenes bits from the show as well, and any news that might drop around TDW outside of these podcast episodes going forward, TDW now has its own dedicated YouTube channel. It is nice and simple, TDW Wrestling, which, yes, if we're being pedants, mean that technically is Talk Dork Wrestling. But TDW Wrestling, so you can see, firstly, there are 2 full segments from the show currently on the YouTube channel, so you can get a bit of a whetting your appetite there. And funnily enough, one of the people who you can currently watch for free is joining us on the pod today. So the opening match, not the open challenge. I'm not that nice. You want to see my boy Super Relic in action, you're going to have to pay for the show. But the opening match, the thing that kicked it all off, Strong Dads versus the Kings of the Ring, really set the scene. The crowd were hot from minute one. And if you want to see RJ Singh in action, if you want to watch the exact moment that he knackers his knee on that moonsault, that is currently available for free on the YouTube channel TDW. And also, if you want to see some of the best characters that we had in that ring in the form of the Showtime Darlings and the very first live appearance before their match of the Pond Bros, that full segment is currently on there as well. Plus, credit to Laferde, who's not on the podcast today, who before and after all the matches was getting interviews and promos from all the awesome talent that we had there. If you go on the shorts on the TDW YouTube channel, all of those are available to watch as well.
Do you want to hear something really funny, Ross? I'm learning all of this as you are, and our listeners.
I've been busy today. I've not actually had a chance to update Ryan before now.
I'm actually really shocked. I'm like, oh, is it?
Excellent.
Yeah. At the moment we're recording this podcast, the channel got set up yesterday, and I've been working today making all this stuff, and I've not actually had a chance to update Ryan before now.
And I'm guilty. I felt because I texted him the other day saying, "Look, if you've got no plans of anything else to do, I've got a little idea for you. You could put together something for me because I'm going to be busy this weekend." But instead, he's created a whole channel. But I knew about the channel, haven't had a chance to look to see. I should probably log into it. What he's put in there. So yeah, wow, fantastic. I'm going to go watch the Kings of the Ring versus the Strong Dads, and
as will I
see them. I want to see that moment. We'll see if I can see where Ross goes. Where's Ryan? That'll do. Right. Don't forget, we said it last time. We should be saying it more often. If you haven't already, please, because so many people listen to podcasts and don't follow or subscribe. Our followers and subscribers are going up, but you may be one that's listening or watching that hasn't. Just check, give us a little follow, check us out, make sure you're staying up to date. And as Kurt said, we've just got something else for you to go follow as well. Another page. We've got about social wise now about 15 pages you should be following, subscribing, liking, commenting on everything. If you haven't already, go check out treefroggrading.com. Go get your cards graded, use the code TWD50. By the way, you both nodded at the exact same time.
Yes, you should do that.
Yeah.
Oh, friend.
It's like we've rehearsed this.
Oh my god, we might have to rethink this. TWD15, which is Talks with Dorks 15, but TDW is the wrestling side of things.
Yeah, Talk Dork Wrestling.
Yeah, okay. Hang on.
Think of it like the socials. Talk Dork Podcast, Talk Dork Wrestling.
Yes, okay.
Nice and easy. But TWD is short for Talks with Dorks. We'll get there.
Please remember, go give us a follow. We are at Talk Dork Podcast, as he's just said. I'm at the DJ Ryan S. Our special guest, Mr. Ross, Mr. RJ, whichever side, please feel free to give away your socials once again.
Oh, certainly. I mean, I'm on Twitter as RJ Singh is King. But on Instagram, you have to flip it. It's King RJ Singh because someone already took RJ Singh as King. So
Rude.
found that out when I tried tagging you a couple of times.
Yeah.
Kurt, give him yours.
So I'm on Insta and X at that Kurt Wilson. And Ryan will eventually drag me kicking and screaming onto TikTok, I'm sure.
Well,
but
I got a feeling because you've logged into ours, you've been watching a bit, haven't you?
I've been on it, but under the Talks with Dorks page. I'm not on it as me yet. You'll get me there eventually.
Scrolling, it's happening. He's been avoiding. You've been scrolling, haven't you? You're finding yourself going deeper and deeper.
You need to lock me out of the Talks with Dorks account though, because as long as I can get my fix that way, I'm never going to have my own one.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter. But you're becoming a TikTok fan. You're becoming a doom scroller on TikTok, and I know the algorithm on our TikTok will be pretty much stuff you enjoy. So because it's Doctor Who, wrestling, and Paul Smith. We're Talks with Dorks. If you haven't already, like I said, go check us out on everything. Go follow. Thank you, Ross, for joining us again.
Pleasure.
Back. I mean, I know you're taking a bit of a hiatus now, but I think you should be coming back at some point to the wrestling scene, and we'd like to have another chat with you about that.
Oh, absolutely. Hopefully, I'll be back. Hopefully, I'll be back at some point in the future.
Okay, he'll be back in time at some point, maybe. Okay. There's more news coming. Don't you worry about that. I'm Ryan. That's Kurt. That's Ross, aka RJ. See you later.
Bye.